Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports. Rassie Erasmus is set to announce his team on Monday morning, which is, 3 days earlier than what we saw last week. Off the back of the defeat yesterday, they are not wasting any time. And in fact, they'll actually name the side within 48 hours of the final whistle going, which means that either two things. First of all, it means that they'd already started the team and they basically kind of already knew who was going to play in the second test. Or they've changed it and basically said they want to try and control the narrative a little bit this week. They want to throw that team out and they want to get people talking. What will be interesting is we've often seen Rassie Erasmus threaten throughout the year to potentially change teams after they've been announced. We have seen teams changed after the announcement, but due to injuries and sicknesses and the likes of that, we've yet to see a tactical tweak after a team has been announced by the coaching staff. But they are going to name it tomorrow. And as a result, we're going to have a look at potentially what that team might look like and what I would like to see with regards to some of the tweaks and the changes we are going to make. Because I think that if you look at the game yesterday and you kind of look at it a bit more retrospectively, I don't think we need to go into crisis mode. I do think that we have to start making some big decisions, and I do think there needs to be some very honest conversations being had about certain players and the form that they're currently in. But I don't think we need to panic. You know, New Zealand played well and they took their chances. They were very, very clinical. The Boks were not outplayed, though. You know, I don't think we played well at all, and yet we were very much in the contest throughout the 80 minutes. And, you know, I still think that the second try was a bit of a gift from us to them. First try, a bit of a botch of defending. And at the end of the day, small moments lost us that game. The penalty, you know, off the back of the kickoff, which then resulted in the line-out, which then resulted in the try. You know, there were lots of moments and individual errors, which if you can clean up a little bit, you can turn that result around. So I don't think we need to panic as Springbok fans. And I don't think the coaches need to panic either, because a lot of what we were doing on Saturday is close to what we need to be happening. But we've got to be more clinical and we've got to create better opportunities. You can't create 12 opportunities and have a less than average 2 points per 22-meter entry. You know, this is what we were saying over the weekend, is if we had like 3 points per 22-meter entry, we would have won that game easily. You know, and the All Blacks had like close to 5. So it's about changing the small things to try and make us a bit more accurate, a bit more clinical, and take our opportunities. Now, I think we will see changes to the team. I genuinely do. And I think that we're going to be interested to see sort of what the bench split will be. And I'm going to show you sort of what I've sort of gone with. But I do think we're going to see a return of a bomb squad. But let's get into it, shall we? So this is the team I predicted on mypicks.app. This is our new platform we have been working on. Their description has got the link in it, so go and predict your team as well. It's 1 through to 15. At this stage, we will be implementing hopefully a bench option later on, but at this stage, 1 through to 15. And you can actually create your own leagues. So you can go create, we're going to have a Forever Sports League that everybody can join, and you can basically get basically a point for every player right in the starting 15, and you get a bonus point if they're in the right position. So for example, if you call Siya Kolisi in the 8th man jersey, and the likes of that, and then you get bonus points if you get the entire 15 right. And yeah, it'll be very impressive if anybody actually manages to do that. But in terms of my team, this is what I've gone. So I've kind of tweaked it a little bit. And I'm waiting to see, and I'm not quite sure how much of my Pimpies ended up being in the number 13 jersey, so I'll just quickly fix that in a second. But I think we need to see a few changes in the pack, and I think we need to change it up a little bit with regards to the way we're using our bench, the impact players, for example, and kind of how we might change our tactics with regards to the later on in the game, trying to sort of storm them, you know, and trying to really sort of physically outmatch them. Because I think that at certain parts, you know, we really struggle to create opportunities. And I think off the bench, for example, we saw the go forward ball coming from the pack, but we didn't see a lot coming from the backline itself. So go and predict your team on the MyPicks app. But for the sake of showing you what my bench is going to look like, let's have a look at this team, which is the team I have picked. So in the front row, I've got Oxen Chair. I would like to see Marnus van der Merwe. I think we might see Jan Vessels potentially, but I would really like to see Marnus van der Merwe. And the reason that I'd like to see Marnus van der Merwe start is I think we need to move Malcolm Marx to the bench for a bit. I don't think he's playing particularly well. Missed that big tackle. Lions weren't particularly good on Saturday. And I think that moving him to the bench, for example, making him part of the impact, might be a really good place for where he's at right now and the way he's playing. I think Marnus van der Merwe is a really, really good player. I'm surprised he hasn't had more opportunities. Maybe I'm seeing something different to what the coach is seeing. But I think, first of all, if he plays, you've got a fetcher. So you don't lose that when you start like somebody else ahead of Malcolm Marx, like a Bongi Manambi. He's really strong over the ball, is Marnus van der Merwe, one of the best fetchers actually in club rugby last season. So I'd like to see him start. And Thomas Toy was solid enough over the weekend. I don't think you have to necessarily change that, and I quite like the impact of Volkolo coming off the bench. I'm sticking with Eben Etzebeth and I'm sticking with Ruan Lokier. I thought both had very strong games over the weekend, and Ruan Lokier is in some great form at the moment. I've moved Siya Kolisi back to number 6 jersey because, and it's going to be a huge addition, Jasper's ban is over this weekend. So he can play, and he has to play. We really need that abrasive, big ball-carrying number 8. We've really missed that presence, I think, in the last few games. So I think Jasper will come straight into the side. Here's the reason he travelled. He remained with the squad throughout his ban, and I think the plan was always to get him back involved for this second test. So I think that he'll start, and I've put Siya Kolisi back to number 6 jersey. I've got Peter Steph's toy, obviously the number 7 jersey. So that's the kind of pack I've got. And I've kept Malcolm starting in the 23. I've actually moved him to the bench because I think that he might have a very good impact coming off the bench itself. 9-10, I've gone with a swap from this past weekend. I'm going to start, I'd like to see Kobus Rana start with a Sash Famagomazulu. I wouldn't mind seeing a 5-to-clerk start, to be honest. Conditions are set to be dry, and I think that, again, combinations, find an impact off the bench. I think it would be an interesting decision to start with Kobus Rana next to a Sasha. Let's play a little bit slightly differently from over the weekend. Let Sasha try and play a bit more sort of ball play. Look, to be fair, I'd actually be quite tempted to go with Martin Liebach. I really would. I think the way that he gets the backline going, the chance he creates, I think could be vital. But I think that at the moment, after that Ellis Park test, I think confidence might be an issue. And I think they'll probably look to start him against Argentina, would be my guess. I think after the weekend, I think Kennedy had a much better second half in the first half. I still bring like sort of a Pimpy back in for that experience in number 11 jersey. Chisholm Colby in the 14. I've got with Andre Stays at the 12. It looks like Damien Delende could be injured. We're not entirely sure. That's, again, it's a bit of a strange one, again, to sort of name the side so early, given the fact that, we're not entirely sure what the injuries are, but I suppose they will train tomorrow, and the team is being announced in the evening, so they can get through a training session tomorrow and then kind of make that call. And I've gone with Damien Williams at fullback. This could be a very controversial call. I just feel we need a bit of tactical news in that number 15 jersey and a really good defender. I'm very aware that he's not playing his best rugby. Apele Fassi obviously on form, but I don't think Apele Fassi in the last couple of games has been as good as what we saw last year. Very good under the high ball, in fairness. But I think Damien Williams is somebody we're missing, and if Damien Williams plays at his best, he's one of the best players in the world. So I would like to see him there. I think especially in the 6-2 split becomes a very important player. You can move it to inside center, for example. You can move him to 10 if things really go wrong, and it allows the 6-2 split. So does Sasha, so you don't necessarily have to play Damien Williams, but I think he is a very important player, and I think we're missing some of the decision making that kicks him behind, for example, the tactical kicking he brings, and a really good defender as well. Then off the bench, I've gone back to a 6-2 split. I haven't gone with the 2 locks. You could bring in a Franco Master, for example. You could bring in Arceus Neyman. I've gone with the two flank options, and I also think you could potentially obviously move an Andre Estes into the flank as well. So you could, for example, take a Ruan Nokia, or even Etzebeth, or you could move Peter Steph Toy to number 4 lock, for example, and have a brand new loose chirp. Andre Estes moves there. You could go with an additional lock ahead of the likes of a Marco van Staden, for example. But I've got Malcolm Marx, Bonaventer, Wilco Low. Bonaventer, Wilco Low hammered the scrums when they came on, so no reason to change them. Malcolm Marx, the obvious. We're not going to leave Malcolm Marx out of 23 at the end of the day, despite the fact he's not maybe playing at his best. And then I've gone with Lutiago. I thought I had a good impact. Marco van Staden, Quacker Smith in that 6-2 split. Grant Williams, Andre Pollard. So you got the experience of Pollard to come on and kind of see out the game. You can bring him on quite early if Sasha's struggling, for example. And I think in dry conditions, as the game gets a bit more open towards the end, Grant Williams can make a really big impact. And I do think that he's better off the bench in terms of the amount of impact he can bring versus when he starts. He's our best scrum off. I think he had a great game on Saturday. I think he struggled a little bit in the conditions. And I think right now we need to see big finishes from the box. And I think that he could be a really big part of that. And I thought Kobus Rana played so well when he came on and really controlled the tempo well, knew exactly what to do, that I think it could be a bit of merit in sort of rotating that. This is always unlikely to be the team that actually Rassie's going to pick in the morning, so we'll have to wait and see. Do come and join us on our live stream. What change would you make? What team would you select? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.